Good day, my name is Carden Madzokere and welcome to exam prep for Dynamics of Imperfect Markets. I'm the author of the Distinction Bound Student textbooks, and you can buy Economics grade 10, 11 and 12 and also Business Studies grade 11 and 12. All right, so in this lesson we are going to, I made a selection of some questions from past papers from the Department of Basic Education. That's why you see I said here DBE, Department of Basic Education. So we want to have a look at questions that have been coming in the final exams. I've selected a couple of November, June, and also Feb, March, the supplementary. All right, so let's have a look. We have this. Okay, the other thing that I want to point out is I'm going to focus on data response questions on in this lesson. So it's mainly study the graph below, read the extract, or study the cartoon, something like that. So yeah, I put one extract, a couple of graphs, and one cartoon, so that you can sort of get an idea. And I just want to mainly focus on the technique. Of course, you have to know the content, but how do you approach these questions in an exam? All right, so to get started, let's have a look at this one. To which market structure is the kinked curve related? All right, so when you see a kinked demand curve, one that is elastic and inelastic, you know it is an oligopoly. Remember when we did classification of markets, we mentioned the criteria that we use to distinguish market structures. When you see a demand curve like this, you know it's perfect. When you see one like this, you know it's monopolistic. When you see one like this, you know it's monopoly. When you see one like this, you know it's oligopoly. So we say this one is horizontal. We say this one is, we can say elastic or highly elastic. This one is inelastic, and this one is kinked. So when you see a kinked demand curve, you know it's oligopoly. All right, so that's question number one, and it's for 1 mark. Normally you shouldn't get this one wrong because they make it that easy. And there was a time when I did the lessons, I mentioned that if you would master that table that distinguishes the 4 market structures, it will earn you a lot of marks. So before you go and write the exam, make sure you master that table. Make sure you can write the 12 criteria, like demand curve, nature of products, number of firms, examples, productive efficiency, allocative efficiency, all those things. Make sure you know that. Then you have the 4 market structures, and with those 4 market structures, make sure now you can complete the whole table, not partially, but the whole table. Make sure you master that whole thing. If you do that, you'll see. I'll keep saying it during this lesson so that you understand what I'm talking about. You'll see I'm not just talking, but it's reality. That's what happens in the exam. Now, what is the output level in the graph above? All right, I mentioned it in one of the lessons. The output is where the demand curve kinks. That is the best price. That is the best output. That is the best price. Actually, I'm right. Okay, so the price that the oligopolist is going to charge is 50, but this question is asking about the output. So the answer will be 50. It cannot be 20 because it's not where the demand curve kinks, if I put it that way. Just like let's say in Perfect, we know the output is where MC meets MR. Why? Because that's the profit maximizing point. And the best price for an oligopolist is where the demand curve kinks. So the answer in this case will be 50. Right. What would the effect be on total revenue? Okay, TR. Remember how we get TR? It's AR times quantity. Ne? What will the effect be on that total revenue, which is the money that the business gets? If the oligopolist increased his price from 50 to 60. All right, so look here. If the price goes up from 50 to 60, obviously that is going to make customers sort of run away from whatever product. Let's say this is MTN. Ne? If MTN increases its tariffs, it's going to, let's say it increases to 60 rand, it's going to lose. In this case, it shows like what, 30, let's say, subscribers. Okay, so let's say MTN loses 30 subscribers just because they want to gain this. But now this question here is for 4 marks, so they don't want you to just say MTN is, or the firm is going to lose customers. They want you to show by means of calculations. Oh yes, it says here show calculations, so you have to show it by calculating. So obviously, what do you have to do? The question is asking about total revenue. To get total revenue, I said you say average revenue times quantity. So our average revenue is what? Oh, if you don't know where average revenue is, D is equal to AR. Okay, all right, so it will be 50 times 50. That is what you get now. And then 20 times 60. So let's see when we calculate. So at the price of 50 rand, the quantity is 50 rand. So the revenue is 2,500. Okay. And then at the price of 60 rand times 20, it is 1,200. So the question is asking what would happen. And you see the effect here is that average total revenue is going to go down. So the net effect on income is going to be minus 1,300. So what this means is if MTN increases its tariffs at a price that is higher than where the demand curve kinks, in the quest of course, if MTN does that, they're trying to what? To make more money. But in reality, if they charge anything above the actual price, because I'm saying the actual price because the price should be where its demand curve kinks. So if they try to charge anything above that, they are going to, look, this is 50, right? And this is 60. What if they change to just by 2? Look, somewhere there. Look what happens. Just a small increase, like 52. It doesn't even show here. It looks like my line is, look, there's no gap there. So it's probably 51. But look here. This is big. If this is 50, this is 20. This probably looks like 42 maybe. See? So how can you gain 1 cent and lose 8? Because this will be 8. So it doesn't make sense to charge anything above where the demand curve kinks. Let's see. What if MTN tries to attract customers by charging a lower price? Look, the effect. The effect is very small. Look here, charge a lower price like 40. In the quest of trying to gain, they'll gain not as many. Look at the difference here and the difference there. My line is not straight, but this looks like something like a 54 maybe. So it's if you multiply 40 by whatever you get there, it will still be less than 2,500. So the best price for the oligopolist will be 50. All right. Advise the oligopolistic firm on how to increase its market share in this particular industry. All right. In this particular industry, when a firm wants to increase its market share, they'll have to do non-price competition. I'm going to give you examples, but yeah, these are some of the things they could do. They build brand loyalty. You know, they can have those loyalty rewards, like if you use our card, you can gain some points, things like that. All right. They can, a business can also do like door-to-door deliveries. They can do after sales marketing, let me put it that way. They can do a lot of things. I mentioned in one of the lessons that I sort of go out of my way to go to Engine because I use FNB, and when I swipe my FNB card, I get eBucks. So that is an example of what FNB as an oligopolistic firm does, and also Engine, because I can use other petrol stations, but I choose that because I want eBucks, something like that. All right, let's go to the next question. Here we have an extract. Okay, so you'll have to read and then answer. Now, South Africa has far too many monopolies. Now, this may sound confusing because we know that monopoly, means one firm in the entire industry. But now the word far too many monopolies means, let's say there's a monopoly in, let me just say, in this industry. There's an monopoly again in another industry, meaning it's the only firm in the entire industry. So you become a monopoly that way. Then we go to another industry, you find out there's one. Go to another industry, there's one. So that's what this statement means. Let it not confuse you for making you think that there are many firms in the industry. Here it's saying they are in, because obviously we have so many industries, and then in quite a lot, according to this extract, there are many. So get it that way. So for example, Eskom is regarded as a natural monopoly. So expect natural and artificial. There is only one competitor in the market. Okay, yes. So this word one competitor, it links with the word mono, because mono means one. Some prices in South Africa are therefore much higher than they should be. The quality of the product and service is lower, obviously because you don't have competition, and some of these companies are less innovative. They are not forced to be innovative because there is no competition. But look, where there is competition, firms think out of the box, and so they become innovative. But when you are the only firm, you probably don't have the incentive to do so because they'll buy from you anyway. And efficient than in the case of more competitive environments. All right, so this was adapted from MoneyWeb, whatever. Now, identify two main problems in that South Africa experiences with monopolies in the extract above. Okay, we have a couple of problems, but there they are. They're straightforward. I was underlining some of them. Far too many monopolies, one competitor, high prices, you name it. The next one. Why is Eskom regarded as a natural monopoly? All right. In this case, Eskom would be regarded as a natural monopoly because it's far too expensive for one to start something like Eskom, and also the fact that it's government regulated. So due to the very, very high cost of infrastructure, it might be difficult for other firms to sort of enter. But yes, we know also for Eskom, it's because, it's government. So it's regarded as a natural monopoly, which others may want to argue and say, but then if it has to do with government, then that doesn't sound natural. It sounds like artificial. But yes, in this case, because of high costs, a single business can serve the whole market at a lower cost than two or more businesses. Right, what prevents monopolies from charging excessively high prices? Okay, I don't know how long the answer will be. I would rather draw it here. Look here. You might be a monopolist, but let's say you produce this quantity here. Look, your limit is the demand curve. What if you produce this output? You see, so this output, this price at this output is impossible. This price, by this price I mean, let's say there, you cannot charge this price here. You see why? Because even though you are the only firm making whatever it is that you are making, you also have a limiting factor, and your limiting factor in this case is the demand curve. As simple as that. All right, so the demand curve limits you, so there has to be demand for your product. And so the mere fact that you're the only one doesn't mean you can charge whatever it is that you want. Okay, let me give you an example. Trust me, if electricity for June is 100,000, look, I'm going to spend the whole of June without electricity at my house because it's not worth it. It's too much for 1 month. So the fact that it's unique, it has no close substitute, doesn't qualify it to be worth 100,000 in a month. So it's way too much. I'm not going to spend that money on electricity. Even though there's only one firm, which is Eskom, I'm not going to pay that much. It doesn't make sense to me. All right. So we have that. The demand for the, you see, I mentioned demand. There has to be demand. And so at 100,000 for electricity, I'm going to demand 0. It's just way too much. All right. But maybe for some things that, let's say I need my computer, I need to charge the phone. But for those things that will chow a lot of electricity, I'm not going to use them. We are going to buy gas. We are going to, we'll find a way. All right. Of course, with that 100,000, I would rather install a solar system, whatever it is that I can do to run away from the bill. Consumers may switch. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Monopolies, yes. So we have our answers there. Oh my goodness, it's fine. How has the implementation of an anti-monopolistic policy benefited South Africa? All right, I pressed the answer by mistake. Restrictions into entry to any industry was relaxed, which promotes economic transformation in the economy. And then that one. All right, so you can pause and just, yes, there you have it. Straightforward. Right, let's move on to the next one. In the next question, it will obviously say in the exam, study the, what do you call this one? The graph below and answer the questions that follow. Right, which curve represents the average revenue? We all know D is equal to AR. So it's this one here. It's the demand curve, is the D curve. Right, how many firms dominate this market structure? All right. You might want to think it's monopolistic, but in this case, we have the answer there. So if it's monopoly, then obviously it's 1. Right. Why does the marginal revenue curve lie below? Okay. In this, I explained it also, in the previous, in my lessons, that, look, it's different from perfect. Under perfectly competitive markets, when output increases, because to increase is to go this way, right? At this output, you see nothing happens to the price. The price stays the same as output goes up. So D will always be equal to AR, which is equal to MR. If this is 2 Rand, so your AR is going to be 2 Rand, your MR is 2 Rand, your AR is 2 Rand. But in this case, look here. As output increases, look, let's say, you see, if we increase output to here, see what happens. Price goes down. So because price is not constant, your AR, your marginal revenue, because marginal revenue is the money you get for selling 1 additional unit. So when you add a unit, like from 4 to 5, when you add a unit, you see, your marginal revenue goes down. So because of that, it's what you would expect. Due to the negative sloping demand curve, every additional unit is sold at a lower price. But in this case, the demand curve is horizontal. So as this goes up, this remains the same. So your marginal revenue is 2, 2, 2. But in this case, it will be, if it starts at, if your AR is 20 and you increase a unit, your MR will be 18. You increase again, this one probably goes to 18. This one will go to 16, like that. It won't go like this because the demand curve is downward sloping, just like it says here, your negative sloping demand curve. You can go back to some of my lessons, you'll see what I'm saying here. Here I'm just saying it sort of in a hurry because I've explained the concept. Right, why will the monopolist not be able to charge excessively high? Okay, this is the same question, we answered it in the previous. So do you see that in years they sort of repeat the same questions? And yes, you must always get it right, because look, it's the same question, ne? Right, although the monopolist is the only firm, yes, obvious, market forces of demand and supply, they'll always be your limiting factor. So that there we have everything there. Now redraw the graph above into your answer book. Indicate economic profit. All right, so if it's economic profit, then I've drawn so many things here, but it's fine, you'll see the answer just now. And so they want economic profit, so make sure your AC, sorry, is less than your AR. Okay, so it will be an easy one. There we have it. Like I said, your AC has to be, okay, remember here they just say D, and I also wrote it here, ne? D is equal to AR. So if this is your average revenue, you see, your price, and in this case I would prefer, because this is how they gave it in the exam, I normally prefer to have like money here, maybe 2, maybe 1 here, whatever, it doesn't make sense, so maybe 10, 12, yeah. All right, so something like this, 12 rand, 10 rand, your average revenue is 12. So what you get, AR, what you get is greater than the cost of getting it. So in this case, you are making an economic profit. So as long as you get a positive, your profit is known as economic profit. So in this case, when you draw, make sure your AR is low. Then before you draw your AR, obviously you have to draw your MC, and your MC, we need it for us to see the output. So where it meets MR, we know is the profit maximizing point. So this is our profit maximizing point here, not B, not A, it's here. Maybe let's call it C. So from here we get we hit the demand curve, so that becomes our price. Then we draw our AC below, and there we have it, like that. And in my case, what is the economic profit? Is 12 minus 10, which is equal to 2. And what if this is 10? Then we say times 10, so it's 20 rands. As easy as that. Let's go to the next question. All right, indicate the profit maximizing point. All right, it's where MC is equal to MR. So where is it? Here's our MC, here's our MR. Where do they meet? Here, point C. That's easy. Where MC is equal to MR, or at point C. So you can say it like this or like this, point C. How many units? Okay, so if it's this, so it's 100. It can't be 120, it can't be 140, because this is our profit maximizing output. If you produce 120, you don't maximize your profits. Produce 140, you don't maximize. Produce 100, you maximize. Why? Because you're applying the rule, which says you must produce where MC is equal to MR. So there we have it. That will be at 100. Then determine whether the business is making an economic profit or economic loss. Show calculations. All right, so in this case, our AR, that's what we look at. So AR minus, our AR is 6, and minus 4. Okay, so if we say 6 minus 4, what do we get? We get 2. So this 2 here is already showing us that the firm is making an economic profit. So you have to prove that this is proving it, but then you have to conclude and say, therefore, the business is making economic profit. And you can then also say 2 times 100 if you want. So it will be an economic profit of 200. As simple as that. All right, so there we have it. So yes, 200, the business is making economic profit, and you can do it this way also. All right, I've shown it. Right, what favorable conditions may the monopolist enjoy in comparison with other market structures? There are so many things that the monopolist can enjoy. I'm not going to go through everything. This one is as easy as that. All right, so let's get to the next question. Right, which imperfect market structure is illustrated? This 1,000 times it's oligopoly. Why? The demand curve is kinked. Then, oh yes, it's kinked. Then explain how price leadership works. Okay, with price leadership, it's always done or mostly done by a dominant firm, which is mostly the biggest firm in the entire industry. So they'll announce that they are probably increasing the price, and then others follow suit. And then, but obviously it has to depend on their demand curve. This will always be the best price, so 90, and their best output is 150. All right, so if a big firm announces that, then others follow suit. It's called price leadership. Right, assume that the current selling price is 90. Of course it is 90 because look, it's the best. Explain why this business will not lower its price. Okay, let's say to 50. Okay, lowering its price to 50 has a good thing in a way, which is it increases their market share, or it increases people who buy from them, something like that. But economically, it doesn't make sense because 90 times 150 is better than 50 times 190. So this is the best. So that's exactly why the business will not lower its price. Neither can a business increase its price because it's going to lose a lot of customers. So there's nothing that beats this combination here. This combination here. This is the best combination, 90 and 150. Anything below this, anything above that is disaster, because so it can only maximize its profits there or minimize its losses there. So okay, that's it. All right, and you can prove it by calculating. You see here is being shown here. I said 50 times 90, that will be okay. Here it's 9,000 and here it's 13,000, and you see 13,000 is coming from 90 and 150. So this is the best combination. All right, the next one is a cartoon. It says, of course, study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. We have an artificial what versus a natural monopoly. All right, let's read here. I don't have to worry. I have a patent. All right, so obviously if they have a patent, this is artificial, because the patent is giving the firm exclusive rights to make something. Patents work with someone who invents something and then they patent their product, and when they do that, no one else can make whatever it is that you invented. So it can, then you are the exclusive manufacturer of that invention for the next 20 years. And so for those 20 years, you can do whatever it is that you want, in as far as obviously price is concerned. People are going to see that, oh, this product is good, and they can't buy it from anyone else but you, because you have the patent. And why? You invented this thing. Right, so identify the type of monopoly. It will be, like I said, this one will be an artificial one. It's not like ESCOM. Right, how many firms usually dominate? Obviously it's one, and the answer is even here, one. Describe the nature of the product. Okay, in monopoly, the product is obviously unique. That's the key word. The product is unique. There is no close substitute. Right, how are natural monopolies created? Okay, now we're talking about natural ones like ESCOM. Mostly it's the cost being too high. So if other people cannot then enter, then naturally they've been blocked out. Is it we say there's no freedom of entry, or entry is completely blocked? So what could block them out is the excessive amount of money that might be required for you to enter. And sometimes natural monopolies are formed. If a natural monopoly can be formed, let's say if you are very, very smart, you come up with something that maybe no one can ever okay, right now we have this pandemic, COVID-19 happening. No one has cure for it. If you come up with the cure for COVID-19, you become a monopoly, So, but how have you become a monopoly? It's not because of the cost. It's because you know how to make the drug that prevents the spread of COVID-19. So it makes you a monopoly, but what kind? A natural one. Because you don't have anything artificial that is blocking other people from entering. Like, oh yeah, I found it, and then you register a patent. No, in this case, you become a monopoly because others cannot, say, imitate what it is that you have done. All right, why will this monopolist always make economic profit in the long run? Because of barriers to entry. That will be the biggest thing. All right, there we have it. All right, the last one, I think, the demand curve study. Obviously, read this and answer the questions. The demand curve of monopolistic competitor is very similar to that of a monopolist. Yes, similar in the sense that they are both downward sloping. The only difference is elasticity, but yes, they are both downward sloping. With the demand curve being more elastic than that of a monopoly. Short run equilibrium is very similar to a monopoly, and long run equilibrium of normal profit is very similar to perfect. So you see, we have monopoly, we have perfect. So we have something like a hybrid thing, right? So for this reason, it is sometimes referred to as a hybrid structure, right? Hybrid, look, if you have this dog and that dog, different breeds, their puppy is a hybrid. So in this case, we have monopoly, we have perfect, the baby is monopolistic. So it's a hybrid structure. All right, identify one example of monopolistic competitor in the information. One example of a monopolistic competitor in the example above. All right, we have all these McDonald's, all of them here. All of them. Right, then which word in the information above suggests that a monopolistic competitor is a combination of two? I mentioned it. It's this word here, hybrid. Then briefly describe the term normal profit. Okay, normal profit is when your AR is equal to your AC, when we have 0 rands. So in this case, we say is the minimum that you need for you to survive. So it is the profit that is sufficient. That is the minimum, anything less than that, anything more than that. Yes, there's the word minimum earnings required to prevent an entrepreneur from exiting the firm, the industry. Why is the demand curve of a monopolistic competitor more elastic than that one of monopoly? The reason is because, look, I said it in one of my lessons, but let me just try to do it very fast. The reason is for monopoly, there's no close substitute. And then for monopolistic, if you don't eat Pizza Hut, you go to Burger King, you can go to KFC, you can go to McDonald's. You see, there are so many substitutes. So, but this one, a small change in price causes a small change in quantity demanded. But here, a small change in price causes a big change in quantity demanded. Because if you increase your price of chicken at KFC, and we can go to Chicken Licken, we can go to Pizza Hut, we can go to Burger King. So for that reason, yes, it's more elastic. Right, so the product of monopolistic have close substitutes. Like I said, unlike monopoly where, you are the only firm. Right, how does branding play a key role? Okay, this one will be an easy one, so you can go through this. I'm not going to go through easy stuff. All right, so this brings us to the end, and it was quite a long lesson, but thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next exam prep. And also you can check my other videos on YouTube. The lessons that I've been mentioning, oh yes, this concept I explained, you can check them out. All right, so thank you.